everyone, welcome to URBONUS podcast. My name is Donatas Urbonas, I'm the host, and I'm joined by my colleague Rytis Vyšniauskas. Rytis, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Really, it was a pleasure actually to listen to your previous podcast with Errick McCollum. I have no regrets for skipping that one and leaving my place for Errick because it was a very quality content, I would say. Not in terms of technical quality, because I'm looking forward to Errick getting a better microphone.
Yeah, new earphones going to Krasnodar at the moment.
But actually, it was so interesting to hear some insight and some predictions and analysis from a true professional. Errick McCollum is a great basketball player, and at the same time, you can hear that he has a lot to say for the public. And he seems like a guy you can have a conversation about EuroLeague, Eurocup, VTB United League, the NBA, whatever. He can just talk basketball, and he explains a lot of things in very simple, with very simple examples. So it was really great to have Errick McCollum here on air, and I'm looking forward to having him a lot more often.
Agree. It was a big pleasure because I think that he has a bright future in this area. And what I was fascinated the most about was that the way he explains things through his experience. And he has highest level basketball experience. And in every sentence, somehow, naturally, he puts some personal examples. Also, he follows a lot of basketball, and he remembers some quotes which were said like last year or 2 years ago. Yeah. And there's such a flow. He's so intelligent that it happens so naturally that it's so easy and so interesting to listen to him.
Yeah, and on top of that, he seems like a very positive guy.
Yeah.
Very friendly, very talkative, and he can be a great podcaster or an analyst if he wants to, but at the moment he's still a pretty solid player in the Eurocup. He's probably the best player in the Eurocup this season. So.
Yeah, one of the front runners to become the MVP of the Eurocup, so it's even a bigger honor for us to have him on the podcast. We will have him probably in the upcoming weeks. We will see. But today we're going to discuss some main topics of the EuroLeague action, starting from the game of the week, Real Madrid and Monaco, double overtime game. Also, we saw the hottest EuroLeague team stopped last week. Also, there are some rumors around CSKA Moscow. We will discuss what happened to Olympiacos. They were amazing before COVID happened. Now they are struggling. And also, who else is struggling than Anadolu Efes? So we will discuss all these things. Let's start with the 18th double overtime game in the EuroLeague history. Probably it's modern EuroLeague history. And what is interesting, at least Yanis Psarakis, very interesting Twitter profile, tweeted that EuroLeague didn't have triple overtime games so far. So that's a fun fact. Anyway, that game in Monaco was exciting, but at some point, in some way, it was also pretty tough to watch. 2.5 almost 3 hours of action in Monaco and a lot of missed shots, and especially from Dwayne Bacon and Mike James. 9 from 39, 23% of shooting. They both missed 30 shots combined, and per Darius Garuolis data, that makes them the worst shooting combo in modern EuroLeague history. Bacon had 19 points in 41 minutes on 6 of 20 field goal shooting. Mike James 11 points on 3 of 19, and also Mike James also marked one of the worst individual performances in the EuroLeague. Again, per Darius Garuolis, only Gordon Giricek, legendary Gordon Giricek, had a worse shooting efficiency with at least 19 field goal attempts, making only 2 of 19 in 2001 probably. But they still could have won.
Just like Mike James said himself, we played like shit, but we could have won anyways. So this says a lot about Monaco, how they improved as a team. Let's say in the first part of the season, if they would be facing Real Madrid and having these numbers, they would be blown out by like 20 or 30 points. In this case, they were staying in the game. They were actually leading the game, and you could say they should have won the game.
At least twice.
I mean, I know shots were not falling. I mean, some of the shots are questionable. The shot selection. I mean, However, in the crucial moments, in the last seconds of the game, when Mike James has the ball, you expect him to at least hit the rim. This was the most frustrating moment of the game for me personally. In the end of the first overtime, Mike James got a switch on Eddie Tavares, and I wanted him to be aggressive, to try to attack Tavares, to try and drive, or at least after his sidestep, make a shot. Tavares just blocked his shot like, I don't know, there was a fly somewhere near his face like this. So it was really frustrating. I know that Dwayne Bacon also, you can say, choked in the end of the fourth quarter. In my opinion, experience and mentality won this game for Real Madrid. We know how experienced these players are. They are never faced by the deficit. I mean, they're losing by 9 or 6. They're just playing their basketball. There was one possession in the second overtime where, you might get nervous a little bit. It's a close game. You're playing away from home. The ball movement, it was so natural. Rudy Fernandez inside the paint, finds Jeffrey Taylor in the corner, open free, bam. Real Madrid have this one in the bag. And also, shout out to Gershon Yabusele. He really probably had some extra motivation playing against Monaco, knowing that last season they were his rivals, direct rivals, when he played for Asvel. So he was really
he
a
was
dominant
just announced
player.
the MVP of January, and he fully deserved it.
Amazing performance. By the way, Walter Tavares got into early foul trouble, which was a problem, obviously. You always expect Tavares to dominate the games in the paint.
How important he was in the end of the game. Not only blocking a shot of Mike James, but also getting, I think it was 2 crucial offensive rebounds. Probably one was made by Poirier, but the next one, when Tavares tied the game, probably it was before that Mike James jumper, it was Tavares' offensive rebound. And that possession was weird, I would say, because when I saw the reaction of Mike James, it seemed like he didn't want that play. I mean, he didn't want the switch. He didn't want, not the switch, he didn't want the screen of Will Thomas, because when Will Thomas came aggressively to make a screen, they switched and he got Walter Tavares. And in my eyes, if you have Tavares, probably is the best way to try to beat him by driving to the basket.
Penetrate, be aggressive.
Penetration. And in that situation, the problem was that he didn't have enough time. It was less than 4 seconds to the end of the overtime. So probably Mike saw the situation that the screen was too late, or it was for him. Of course, Jeffrey Taylor is also a very big defensive matchup for you. But probably it was better in that situation to try to make a shot against Jeffrey Taylor. And they wasted the lead twice. They were up by 6 with less than 2 minutes to play in the regulation, and then they were up by 5 with less than 1 minute to play in the first overtime. So with teams like Real Madrid, with the experience of Real Madrid, with the level of Real Madrid, you cannot play games like that. You cannot waste lead twice and expect to win the game. So the final outcome was kind of, logical.
Yeah, this was an opportunity and they should have taken it. I honestly thought that Real Madrid will be the team that will bring down Monaco down to earth. I mean, Monaco were on a winning streak, but as Errick McCollum also analyzed, they beat some opponents that they should beat naturally, some teams that were not in a very good moment, or simply teams that are in the bottom of the EuroLeague. They had solid wins against Zenit and Bayern. You have to give them that. But at the same time, I was looking at this game and I was thinking like, okay, Dimo is on a great streak right now. His numbers are elite. You could say in the last 5 or 6 games, he's the best center in the EuroLeague. But now he's going to face Tavares. So I was thinking that it's not going to be a good night for Donatas Motiejunas, Real Madrid, with their experience. They will bring Monaco down to earth. None of this happened, really. This was an opportunity and they should have won this game. And if they had done it, you would be thinking, wow, they are legit playoff contenders.
Yeah.
They just beat Bayern, Zenit, and now even Real Madrid. But it was an opportunity missed. Shit happens, as you can say. I mean, if I have Mike James on my team, I don't want to show any disrespect to Mike James. He's my favorite player in the EuroLeague. If I have him on my team, I would always trust him to take the last shot.
Yeah.
Always. But in this case, I was disappointed. It was not a good decision to attack Tavares in this way.
We can also remember that it was a very questionable shot by Bacon, probably towards the end of regulation, because he had Danilo and Jusic completely open on the left corner, I think.
Bacon.
But this is Dwayne Bacon, and probably that's the NBA mentality. Scorers gonna score, they're gonna make these decisive shots, and they're not going to pass you, and especially when you're Danilo and Jusic. Maybe if you're Mike James, maybe if you're open, okay, maybe Bacon will make that pass.
Mike James can pass the ball. We know that.
Yeah.
He can be a good playmaker for others. Dwayne Bacon, I don't think he really cares about open guys in the corner. He only sees the rim.
Yeah.
Dwayne Bacon, he's a talented player. He can score. But together with other colleagues, we always joke about Dwayne Bacon because his points tally is always bigger than his PIR.
Mm-hmm. Way bigger.
You will never see Dwayne Bacon getting like 10 points, but at the same time 15 efficiency
because he's not an efficient
rating.
shooter, yeah.
Not an efficient shooter, and also not a distributor of the ball.
And the distribution of the ball was a big problem for Monaco in the overtime, because under Sasha Obradovic, we saw a lot of games where they were sharing the ball, they were efficient on offense. But for me, it seemed like that in the end of the game, both Mike James and Dwayne Bacon, they forgot how to share the ball, because all these crucial shots were made in ISO situations without any ball movement, and that hurt. And for example, on the other side of the floor, we saw Real Madrid sharing the ball, different players were making shots, different threats to the basket. So it was a good example of what Monaco still need. They need to be more consistent moving the ball. And the problem is that that game, again, showed the potential of Monaco that, as you said, before the second part of the regular season, they gonna be the team who will make the playoff push. But at the same time, that extra point was so important for them, because that was completely extra. I mean, the best team of the EuroLeague at the moment. So that would create them huge advantage if they
none of your rivals take wins against Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So for you to win against Madrid, it would be something extra, as you said. I actually wanted to raise the question about Donatas Motiejunas. We've been talking about him in some of our podcasts. Mainly we were talking about his poor defense and how he's being attacked and exposed on the pick and rolls. But right now he's playing amazing on offense, showing his true talents, true potential. Do you think this goes down to him just being in a better shape? Or is it better coaching with Sasha Obradovic? What is the reason for Donatas Motiejunas playing like this?
I think maybe it's a better coaching, or I would say coaching more oriented on the strengths of every player of Monaco. Because before they played more, they were heavily backcourt oriented team, and now, especially in the beginning of the game, in the beginnings of the games, they're trying to give Motiejunas ball more. They try to give him more touches, and he's a very efficient inside the paint player, and that's just the part of the plan of Monaco. They're playing more in and out game than before, and Donatas Motiejunas is just delivering. So I think that's the main reason.
Yeah, probably right.
Ball movement is much better than before. Alpha Diallo is also
I
more
actually
involved.
see some connection between Donatas and Mike James. In some of the games, Donatas was scoring like 14, 16 points, and 80% of those came directly from Mike James. So maybe there's some better chemistry right now, but also credit goes to Sasha Obradovic. We remember Obradovic in his first game at the wheel. It was in Kaunas. He didn't have any practices yet. He just came straight away and replaced Zvezdan Mitrovic. So in that game in Kaunas, they won in overtime. It was a very high-scoring game. And after that match, in the interview, Sasha Obradovic said, there was no defense at all. There's a lot of work to do. Today we used our extra quality to win the game. And after that, Sasha Obradovic did some amazing things. This is not a good defensive team when you look at it on paper. If you have like Mike James and Donatas Motiejunas on the court, they are targets for the opposition. But somehow, Sasha Obradovic makes them look like a decent defensive team, not an elite defensive team. They don't have to be elite on the defensive department, but decent. And with their quality and skills on offense, being decent on defense might be just enough. So a lot of credit goes to Sasha Obradovic for what he did so far.
Yeah, and if we talk about Motiejunas and Mike James combo, there's a good tool on bballytics.com created by Mykolas Stumbras. There are stats which show the efficiency of 2-player, 3-player, 4-player combos. So Mike James and Donatas Motiejunas makes the second best 2-player combo in Monaco team. Their plus-minus playing together is plus 55. Good offensive rating, good defensive rating. I mean, they're good. They're good playing together.
I just hope there will be no chemistry issues going forward this season, because we heard what happened yesterday in the French league game. Some confrontations between Alpha Diallo and Mike James. I just hope they stick together. If they do, they can really be very competitive.
It's just unclear what actually happened yesterday, so we will try not
we
to
will not
exaggerate
speculate on that.
situation.
We will not speculate on that. Let's just say a few sentences about Real Madrid, because now they presented Gabriel Deck. Now he's back. Now he's active, playing. So let's just imagine that it's Final Four or the quarterfinals, whatever, a very important game in the season, and everybody's healthy in Real Madrid. Who will be left out? Pablo Lasso will have to choose 12 players, and some players will be left out, whether it's the EuroLeague final or the semifinal. And can you imagine, like, for example, they are playing in the final, and Fabian Coser and Adam Hang are being left out just because there's not enough space on the roster?
Easily. I mean, Lasso has that nice privilege.
I know, but Adam Hang and Fabian Coser, I'm just taking them as examples. I don't know, maybe he would leave out Nigel Williams-Goss or somebody else. I'm just taking Coser and Hang as examples. These two players would be starters on most of the EuroLeague teams right now. And potentially, they could be left out from the EuroLeague final if Real Madrid is there and everyone's healthy. This roster is so stacked, it's unfair.
Actually, it's unfair.
I mean, come on. And
cheating,
and Gabriel Deck, he's going to get in a better shape. Obviously, he's a little bit rusty because we were sitting on the bench in Oklahoma, but he's going to get better.
And he was already crucial against Monaco. He scored all of his 7 points in the second overtime, and he was really good. He was using the mismatch situations very well because in some situations, Monaco were lacking of size and strength that Gabriel Deck has. So that's already a good start for him, for not playing for such a long time.
This is crazy, really.
I see Real Madrid roster right now, and it's...
I mean, either way, if you leave out like Trey Tompkins or somebody, most of the EuroLeague teams would take these players immediately. You offer Fabian Coser to, let's say, I don't know,
UNICS Kazan, for example.
Fenerbahce in their current situation, everyone will take Fabian Coser, and Pablo Lasso has the privilege to leave him out of the roster just because he's using other players that day. Wow.
That's incredible. And I wonder what UNICS Kazan are thinking right now, because they would gladly invite all these players, or at least a couple of Real Madrid players, to make their bench deeper, because we're going to talk about UNICS. They lost 2 games last week, of course, against great teams like CSKA and Real Madrid. They lost to CSKA by 11 and Real Madrid by 17.
19 or 17, but actually at one point in this game it was a 30-point deficit. Actually, when I was watching the game in Madrid, in the middle of the third quarter, I thought that they're just giving up on this game, because the more important game is the one against CSKA. Because CSKA are near UNICS in the standings. Real Madrid is far away, just like Barcelona. So it doesn't hurt to lose against Madrid. Everyone's losing against Madrid. But obviously the priority for them was the game at home against CSKA. And maybe they were saving energy a little bit when they played in the Spanish capital. But then against CSKA, all of a sudden you see that Isaiah Cannon is not prepared. He's not playing.
And that's already a huge blow for UNICS.
Of course, they don't have depth, as you said. Yeah. Isaiah Cannon always provides a spark.
Yeah, they were missing that spark very much because they have 6 players playing, let's say they have 6-man rotation and 4 or 5 players playing less than 13 minutes. And Isaiah Cannon was very crucial. He was the first man to come up off the bench and to give that spark, which was really missing.
John Brown had probably his worst game of the season, and it was
the season.
And it was his birthday, his 30th birthday. He was presented with a cake. He actually put out the candles with his fingers.
Turned off the lights.
Something you would expect John Brown to do. Why blow the candles when you can just snap them? Maybe it affected his game, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because he didn't, for the first time of the season, he didn't make any steals. Maybe he got burned, I don't know.
He couldn't hit jump shots.
Yeah, he scored only 1 point, I think, from the free throw line. So that was a very bad week. And we all know John Brown. We all know all of these stories that he's always playing full speed. He never gets tired. I mean, when I wrote an article about him, one of the most impressive things to all of his teammates was that the guy just never gets tired. After the game, he can play 40 minutes and then he's joking all around in the locker room. Now he actually looked fatigued. He actually didn't look as the same John Brown as he was before, and as well as almost the rest of the team. I would say that Lorenzo Brown, he's in incredible shape, but all the other guys, they were missing, and I tried to find for the reasons why that these things were happening. Maybe it can be related with COVID problems they had. It was their after COVID hit, it was they played 5 games in 12 days. They rarely practiced. And they kind of feel that they still need some time to get back in shape. Although they had great game against Barcelona, I think, and against Efes, it seemed like they played, from the adrenaline. But when they got to play on longer stretches, more games every 2 days, the fatigue showed up. So
I don't know, but looking at Mario Hezonja, I wouldn't say he looked tired. He was a bit unlucky actually in the CSKA game. He hit 2 3-pointers at the buzzer.
Yeah.
And he was like 0.2 of a second away from scoring those 3-pointers. That could actually change the game. Yeah. His shooting was off a little bit, but he still got his numbers. Mario Hezonja, to me, doesn't look tired. Lorenzo Brown definitely doesn't look tired. But in the end of the day, you see that they are lacking depth. And when a guy like Isaiah Cannon is missing a game, you feel that, because who's going to take his minutes? They had to give some minutes to Marcos Pisu, very limited minutes. They had to trust Uzinski a little bit more. He's just a role player. They were actually trying to use Gerald Brantley on offense, which was never the case with this team, but he was playing a lot in the post, finding some mismatches. Maybe UNICS is not in their best moment, but at the same time, you have to realize how difficult it is at this level to beat the same team like CSKA with a great mind like Coach Itoudis 3 times in a row. Let's not forget, they beat them in the VTB United League in a low-scoring game, and they beat them in Moscow 88-67. Yeah. So I was kind of expecting that in this game, CSKA will have some adjustments. They will bring something different, and they should actually win in Kazan. And the main adjustment for me was Alexei Shved being used as a pure shooting guard. Previously, he was the playmaker, he was the point guard, and in some games it wasn't working, especially against Milano, against their switch-all defense with Kyle Hines. So in this game, Dimitris Itoudis decided to bring the best out of Alexei Shved, using him as the classical shooting guard. Staggers, screens off the ball.
Some crazy 3-pointers.
Of course, after offensive rebounds, he got some shots, some extra opportunities, thanks to Milutinov and the others. But he was making shots, and in this game, he was not the ball handler, the creator. Daniel Hackett was the point guard. Ife Lundberg was the point guard. Alexei Shved didn't make any assists. He didn't play many pick and rolls. His job was to make shots. He was the shooting guard. And it worked. It worked really well.
27 points. His best game with CSKA jersey ever.
Yeah. amazing. And also, of course, Nikola Milutinov was crucial. In the first quarter, I was covering this game, and in the first quarter, I mentioned that I'm kind of disappointed that CSKA are not providing any touches for Nikola Milutinov inside the paint. They have this height advantage, and they are unable to find Milutinov in the paint. In the first quarter, in my opinion, it was a problem. They were struggling. But in the second quarter, finally, they started feeding Nikola Milutinov. He got some second chance opportunities also. He got some free throws. And he was actually, in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, too much to handle for UNICS. John Brown was getting personal fouls. Tony Jekiri was doing a decent job, but still Milutinov was better. And one of the key factors, they had a classical shooting guard in this game and a classical center, and they managed to beat UNICS with this classical basketball concept.
Yeah, and after such a great game of Alexis Shved, I was so surprised that it's not official yet, but CSKA, they are finalizing the deal with Errick Freeman, who's a scorer, who's a shooting guard, and scoring-oriented player, I would say. They're working on a buyout, and Bursaspor will get around 100,000 euros for this transfer. Of course, what is very important that it's not the last acquisition of CSKA Moscow, and they're looking for a point guard. But as you mentioned, even if you're looking at a point guard, you have Alexis Shved, and you can easily use him as your elite shooting guard, elite scorer. I remember Andrei Vatutin in his official letter on Sports True, he mentioned that, players like Shved, Hackett, Lundberg, Grigonis, they can attack, but we don't have superstars. But for example, when you take Errick Freeman, who's a great scorer, but he's not proven on the EuroLeague level yet, I think that you're just missing and you're forgetting that Alexis Shved is actually your superstar scorer. I mean, he can actually score on a superstar level. If you remember, we were comparing him with Mike James. It was kind of a race of the best scorer of the EuroLeague. He's on that level, and I'm not so sure if Errick Freeman can add anything to this team. I mean, they already have a good rotation, good backcourt rotation. So I was a bit surprised by this move, I would say.
I mean, Brad Wanamaker could add something. He's a point guard. This is what they need. Errick Freeman, it could be a good signing if they would be replacing like Ife Lundberg. But if Ife is staying, it's kind of strange to see Errick Freeman arriving in Moscow. Maybe it has something to do with Marius Grigonis' health issues because he's constantly in and out. Maybe they want to have some cover for the shooting guard position. I'm not so sure, but definitely they need a point guard a lot more than a shooting guard. But the statement from Vatutin about the superstars, I mean, come on.
It's unfair.
What do you mean by saying we don't have superstars? Is Will Clyburn not a superstar? I know he had injuries, but he's still being considered the best small forward in the league. Is Nikola Milutinov not a superstar? He's one of the best centers. Okay, again, he had injuries. It's a problem, but he's still one of the best centers, top 3 or top 4 centers in the EuroLeague right now. He was in a discussion for the MVP this season before it started, and he got hurt in the first round. Is Toko Shengelia not a superstar?
Yeah, I mean, if these guys are not superstars, so tell me who are the superstars of the EuroLeague? Mike James only?
I know that Grigonis or Lundberg, they're not superstars. I know that Kurbanov is not a superstar, no, but I mean, Voigtman is not a superstar, but he's an elite stretch 4. Every team would love to have Voigtman.
All these players were elite on their teams.
And we can talk about another topic, because I mentioned these players as individuals. Like Toko Shengelia is a EuroLeague superstar.
I'll just add one thing about the point guard, because they're still on the market for the point guard, and according to updated EuroLeague rules, they're allowed to make a signing until February 23rd. And I've heard that they're actually pushing again for Kevin Pangos. I've heard that they also improved the offer for Kevin Pangos. Again, he's not playing a lot recently. He's getting only 1 or 2 minutes in NBA games. So we'll see if he will be convinced now, since Cleveland makes some adjustments, and he can clearly see that he won't have any playing time for Cavaliers this season. So Kevin Pangos, he would be a game changer for
He would be a
CSKA Moscow.
superstar.
He would be
Vatutin
that
would have his
superstar.
superstar finally.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not enough. Maybe they need Russell Westbrook to be the real superstar.
They don't need Russell Westbrook, actually.
Actually, nobody needs Russell Westbrook these days, but okay.
And the thing about Pangos, okay, if in the end of the day he will reject CSKA offer again, I was just thinking that maybe Luka Vildoza might be that second option after Kevin Pangos, because again, point guard or even shooting guard market for all these EuroLeague teams is difficult. We can see from Aleric Freeman signing, we can see from Fenerbahce signing. So it's very tough market. But at least CSKA, they're busy. They're making moves, and that means that they want to win the title, and
they have the resources. So if someone's available, they can offer solid money. So what I was saying about the superstars, and I mentioned Shengelia. He is considered a superstar in the context of the EuroLeague, but he doesn't seem like a good fit in CSKA. I mean, in his first season, we were saying maybe he needs some time to adjust. Maybe Itoudis needs some time to adjust because he got used to working with centers like Kyle Hines and Otello Hunter and stretch four type of players like Voigtman, Alec Peters, and the others. And it was all about spacing. Now he has Milutinov and Shengelia. And right now, to me, it seems like Milutinov is better when Shengelia is not playing. They have better spacing with Voigtman. Then Milutinov can do his job in the paint. And when they have Shengelia, they sort of have this duty to feed him, to give him the ball, to let him be himself. But he doesn't seem like himself in CSKA. It doesn't seem like a right fit. Shengelia is best when the team is built around him. This was the case in Baskonia, and I really don't think that CSKA need him that much. If they have Milutinov, he covers the center position. They are better off with stretch four type of players that Itoudis really loves. What do you think? Yeah,
I'm actually looking now at 4-player combos in CSKA, and the first 3 combos include Shengelia playing next to Johannes Voigtman. Which is very logical. The 4th one is with Nikola Milutinov at the center, and guess what? Shengelia is not in this 4-player combo.
I can only imagine. And Shengelia had his best games this season when Milutinov was injured.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
Milutinov has his best games when Shengelia was injured.
So now this game in Kazan, did you feel like they're lacking something? They're lacking Shengelia? I mean,
Voigtman, they were a very well-balanced team.
Yeah, Voigtman was playing. Okay, Semyon Antonov covered some minutes. They had options. They have players they can move to the 4th position like Kleiber or Kurbanov in some cases. And you didn't have the feeling like, oh my God, they're missing Shengelia. UNICS Kazan was missing Isaiah Cannon. Shengelia not playing was not an issue for CSKA. Shengelia is getting paid a lot of money, obviously. So he's a very expensive player, not someone that could sign for, let's say, Crvena Zvezda. But do you think that after this season he should start considering some options?
That's a hard question, if it's only a basketball-related question.
I mean only basketball, for you to be happy and to be your best version.
Shengelia already made such an important decision of his life, moving from Georgia to Russia, also leaving Baskonia, that it would be okay. He's with CSKA for 2 years already, but it's hard for me to imagine him giving up this idea of trying to succeed with CSKA. Maybe it will be his personal agenda, to prove that we are all wrong, and maybe with a better fit at center position, let's say. I'm not saying that there's no disrespect to Milutinov. I'm just saying that he needs a different type of center next to him, or Milutinov needs different type of stretch four playing next to him. And there are 2 scenarios for CSKA. Either you have to sacrifice Shengelia and invest in a backcourt superstar, or you have to move Nikola Milutinov. I don't know.
If I was the GM and it was a decision to make, Milutinov or Shengelia, I would definitely stick to Milutinov. It's easier for any coach,
easier fit,
to include him in his game plan. He doesn't necessarily need to have the ball a lot. He can generate points from second chances. He's probably the best offensive rebounder in the league right now, alongside Eddie Tavares. And for Shengelia to be successful, you need a lot of pieces. You need to have the team built around him. You need to have the coach that knows how to use him. CSKA and Itoudis, they're trying different solutions. They're trying to play Shengelia in the post. They were trying to play some pick and pop actions with him to allow him to drive to the paint, to leave more space, but it's just inconsistent. And it was said that like Itoudis had a choice. He always had his word in selecting players for CSKA. I don't believe up to this day that it was Itoudis' idea to sign Shengelia as a power forward. Everything was so good in Moscow with the spacing they had previously with all these power forwards that can shoot the ball very efficiently, like 40% from three-point range, like Voigtman, Peters. They even had like Dimitris Nichols for this one particular job to stretch the floor. So I don't believe that Itoudis actually wanted to sign Shengelia. Maybe he wasn't against the idea in general, but I don't think he wanted to have him desperately.
Yeah, and I feel bad. I feel so bad for Shengelia because he's a great guy. He's a great character in the locker room, true leader, true professional. But yeah, the thing is that he requires a big fit next to him and around him. So it will be a hell of a job for Coach Itoudis to find the right pieces around him. Who knows? Maybe with some adjustments, maybe with one more superstar on their backcourt, maybe they will find their rhythm. But so far, it's tough. It's tough. For example, with Mike James, it seemed like it was quite working. I mean, when Milutinov was still healthy, when Mike James was playing at his level without all these things which happened around Christmas time, it seemed like that CSKA was actually, they were dominating the EuroLeague standings back then at the moment. So maybe there's a way. There's no one way, let's say, to win the EuroLeague, but that will be just a hell of a job.
Well, one thing is for sure that this victory in Kazan was extra important for CSKA.
Oh yeah.
They were coming into this one after a horrible performance against Milano, 57 points at home. They desperately needed to win this game because if you lose third time in a row against UNICS Kazan, what it says basically that CSKA, the best team in the VTB United League, is now losing its position. Now, new boys are in town. It's UNICS. But they got this like statement win, which also, I would say, relieves some pressure off the players and off Dimitris Itoudis, because right before this game, there was this interview with Batutin, and not only he said all these things about superstars, he also said that there are no untouchables in our team. Sometimes not only coaches, but also GMs send some messages through the media. Maybe this was the case, and I think there was like a chip on their shoulders in this game in Kazan, and they handled the pressure, they handled everything, and they won it. So, respect.
Let's talk about Olympiacos, Piraeus.
Yeah.
They are struggling a lot.
I don't know why.
They're on a 3-game losing streak, and I also tried to dig in if they had some post-COVID problems, because some players have some health issues, some players they're still having problems and getting back in shape.
Bad conditioning,
yeah, that's a real issue. But this time, I was told that they went through COVID lightly, I would say, and it shouldn't be a serious reason to explain their losing streak so far. But for me, it just seemed like they lost their rhythm. They became a different kind of character team. And I remember very well when Šarūnas Jasikevičius was always telling when Žalgiris was on a good run, they were doing good in the EuroLeague, but sometimes they were dropping some, it seemed like easy games for them, or at least the opponents they should have won. And Šarūnas was always saying that my players felt that they are too good. And for a team like Žalgiris, for such a budget team like Žalgiris, for such a level team like Žalgiris, you can never relax and you can never lose your identity. And I think that Olympiacos they lost their identity because it started from the game against Fenerbahce. For me, it was very weird to see, and it's not it happened not just in that game, but also later as well. They were so bad in transition, letting all these fast break points. They lost the focus. I mean, Dorsey is like running in a fast break, but he's running out of bounds, for example, and getting the ball out of bounds, which tells a lot about focus. They started playing bad in defense. Open looks missed. I mean, they're not diving for 50-50 balls anymore. I mean, teams like Olympiacos, and we got some very, good questions why we think that they're so good that they will make the Final Four. The character and the basketball they showed let us think that this is the Final Four caliber team. But the character and the intensity of the game they're showing right now, it's not even the playoff level. And if they lose the focus, if they lose their rhythm, I mean, they might be out of the playoffs if they continue playing like that.
Definitely, you need to be serious about that. It all started in Istanbul, right? The 11th of January, 94-80. Fenerbahce beat Olympiacos. And Olympiacos, in the first part of the season, had, if I'm not mistaken, the best defensive rating in the league or the second best.
They were one of the best balanced teams.
Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, Fenerbahce, without De Colo and Vesely, scored 94 points against them. A lot of three-pointers. But okay. It's one game. It can happen.
Maybe
sometimes. It was a coincidence. Maybe just Fenerbahce had a crazy night.
Yeah,
everyone was hitting shots. It happens, right? But then January 20th, Tel Aviv, 84-69. Again, a very bad defensive performance from Olympiacos against Maccabi that were struggling.
They were on an 8-game losing streak.
They were struggling. Then you're thinking, okay, maybe Maccabi got a little bit better. Maybe they're resurrecting. It still was a game in Tel Aviv, but you're starting to have some doubts about Olympiacos. And finally, the third game that actually proves that something is wrong, at home against Crvena Zvezda. And when I hear after the game Coach Bartzokas talking about how it is unfair that we can only allow 1,000 fans into our arena. Let's not put losing games on lack of atmosphere or lack of support. You're at home against Crvena Zvezda. You should be able to win in an empty gym. To me, I watched this game against Zvezda. To me, it was down to really poor coaching. Honestly, they could have won this game. They were not playing good. You can single out a lot of players like Tyler Dorsey and some others. They were not playing good. But I just felt like it was bad coaching. Like, for example, you're very close. It's the fourth quarter. Okay, fair enough, you're trusting Ioudis Larenzakis. You trust him. He's a hard worker. But how in the world, in one of the crucial possessions, Ioudis Larenzakis gets to drive to the paint, jump in the air and find a contact with Mitrovic and try to finish this way? Larenzakis is not the guy that should be attacking the rim. No way in hell this should happen. You have Slukas to play the pick and roll. You have Dorsey. Let him play.
Even if he's 0 from 5
still
shooting,
he can play in ISO.
He's like Mike James. If
he can play in ISO.
19, you have to play him.
And Ioudis Larenzakis in the crucial possession has the ball and makes a decision like this. It just shows that there was lack of coaching in this game. I mean, they had some moments going in the paint, feeding Mustafa Fall. But you know that you cannot go like for 7 or 8 minute stretches feeding Mustafa Fall. You need something from your guards. Yes, they missed some open shots. Vezenkov missed some shots and others as well. But Crvena Zvezda was leading for majority part of this game. And the funny thing is that Zvezda's best player, Nikola Kalinic, was not as impressive as he usually is. They just won because of team effort, not because of Kalinic doing some magic. Yeah, so this game really is a concern for me. And Olympiacos has some problems, and I really cannot explain why. I'm not sure. But the desperation from the coach talking about 1,000 fans.
Wondering, maybe it was. Did you watch the press conference? I mean, I probably he was asked about fans, and maybe that was just off topic.
I just read the quotes. I
cannot believe that it was. He was telling like it was one of the reasons why it looked like that.
No, I just read the quotes, but the actual thing, how you're talking about this, how it's unfair. What's unfair? What do you mean unfair? Bayern Munich is playing in a empty gym. I didn't hear a single word from Trinchieri or Bayern players complaining.
Ataman was complaining. Probably it was last year, but I mean, all these people, they have to lose this thing, because some of these teams, they really need all these fans in the stands, because they're so their budget is related to the ticketing and things like that. And if in some places you can allow having thousands of fans, why not? Why we should punish ourselves with like, okay, let's lock down all the arenas, let's not allow any fan to come. I mean, that would be unfair.
Talk to your local government.
For example, Monaco.
It's not a EuroLeague issue.
Monaco did an adjustment, because I think that they were allowed, as in probably it was in Villeurbanne. I don't remember the limitation, but let's say they were allowed to have 1,000 and 1.5 thousand fans. They had 3.5 thousand people, because they made some agreements with Monegasque government, the Principality of Monegasque. Of course, it's easy because they're connected to their current region with the prince and things like that. But that's one of the ways how you can solve these problems. I mean, or at least in the end of the day, do not complain about restrictions in our regions.
And you know what's worse for Olympiacos?
Yeah, they're facing Real Madrid.
Oh yeah, away from home.
Then they're also facing Vitoria, Baskonia at Vitoria, which is.
They have to win this one.
That will be a very important game. It's a must-win game.
To lose 5 in a row,
and especially against Baskonia.
Wow, if you lose 5 in a row,
but it won't be easy. If they're still missing players due to COVID, and it's gonna be their second game of the week, that's tough. They're in a dangerous situation. They cannot lose more games.
Yeah, in Madrid, I don't really expect them to win.
No.
Anything can happen, obviously. But then this game against Baskonia, it's a must-win game for them, because, like I said, 5 in a row, to lose 5 in a row right now, basically you're just killing everything that you did in the first part of the season when you were winning and you were like 3rd or 4th in the standings.
Yeah,
you can drop down very quickly in this EuroLeague.
Yeah. That's why we love this game. That's why we love this league. That we actually love Olympiacos as well, but we just want to see the previous edition of Olympiacos, not this one. They're
just 2 wins above Anadolu Efes and Monaco.
That's super dangerous.
2 teams that are behind the top 8.
Yeah, and just Efes is a different topic, but just compare it with Monaco. What kind of different situation they are in?
Fenerbahce are waiting for De Colo and Vesely to get back.
Maccabi, they're always dangerous.
Let's not rule out Maccabi.
Yeah.
All these teams can still push for the playoffs. From the 13th spot, which is as well, these teams, I don't think that they have a legit opportunity. However, from these clubs, I would like to mention Crvena Zvezda. They are 14th. They have 8 wins, 12 losses. Their points differential is minus 21. For example, the teams close to them have minus 138, minus 149, and so on, etc., which just shows how competitive Crvena Zvezda is. Even when they lose games, they lose after a battle.
There were some bad games, but usually
it's normal when you play 34 games in the EuroLeague, but usually they are very close.
Yeah, for example, I'm looking at their results. They had one bad game against UNICS. They lost by 20. They had a bad game against Baskonia. They lost by 19. But for example, last 5 games, the game finished in less than 4 points. That was how close it was for Zvezda. Either they were losing or winning.
They could have won in Istanbul against Efes. We remember Kalinic missing free throws, Mitsic hitting free throws.
They lost against Zenit by 4. They lost in Villeurbanne by 2. I mean, it's always a tough battle with Zvezda.
Yeah. Okay, we can move on to Anadolu Efes and Zenit. They had a game in St. Petersburg.
Third league basketball.
Third league shooting.
Yeah, third division shooting. Yeah,
third division shooting.
Right. Yeah.
I was really looking forward to this game because I was expecting Shabazz Napier to make his EuroLeague debut. It didn't happen. We still have to wait.
Seems like he has COVID, it looks like.
Yeah, so we still have to wait. But when we heard the news that Shane Larkin is not going to play, I was thinking about what you talked with Errick McCollum. you were talking about, and Errick McCollum mentioned it, that to win in the EuroLeague, you need to have like 3 of your best players performing. 1 player or 1.5 is not enough. 2 stars is not enough. You need some help. And watching Anadolu Efes right now, they are just not good enough to win without one of their key players. Like when Micic is missing games or Larkin is missing games, there's not enough star power. So it was a lot easier for Xavi Pascual to prepare a game plan when you have to be concerned mainly about Vasa Micic without having headaches of Shane Larkin. So Zenit was controlling the game in the usual way, how they do with Xavi Pascual playing at home. It's not very exciting basketball, what Zenit is playing, but it's very mature basketball, tactical basketball, and you can see the greatness of a coach when players like Dimitri Kulagin find themselves somewhere in this system. Like Dimitri Kulagin,
he was important in that game.
He's talented. He had a good season in Eurocup in Krasnodar, but last year he was not playing at all. And Xavi Pascual picked him up.
From nowhere, let's say.
And he was like one of their main point guards in this game. On defense, he was covering Vasa Micic for some stretches. On offense, he had some big plays. Even in the fourth quarter, he hit some buzzer beaters. And you know what Zenit does? If you go with them to the fourth quarter without having the lead, in the fourth quarter, it will be isolation basketball. Billy Barron, Jordan Lloyd, they will play these 20-second or more possessions with players finishing in the isolation. They are grabbing offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter. And basically, when they have the lead in the fourth quarter, they are masters of killing time. Not necessarily scoring points, but just killing time.
Mastering possessions, yeah.
Yeah, limiting the other team's possessions, and at the same time frustrating the other team with their 20-plus second possessions. And they were doing it so great in this game. But I have to agree with Ergin Ataman. They were missing wide open shots.
Yeah. It was a matter of luck also for Zenit.
I mean, Roderick Boba gets 2 open jumpers in a row. What do you expect? He should hit them. He's an elite shooter.
Micic the same. I mean, there was so many open
Simon
shots.
in transition, wide open, third quarter. Third quarter was the breaking point of this game when Zenit made a run and they created their lead. But at the same time, it was not because they were defending very well. It's just because Efes missing shots, wide open shots.
4 from 25 in that game, and also they made only 22 of 100 3-pointers in the last 5 games. That's only 22% of 3-point shooting. That's terrible. And watching them shooting all these 3-point attempts, I was feeling like, going at circus and trying to play one of these games where you have to hit the target. And it's a complete scam. And it seemed like the rim was probably smaller for Efes. I don't know, but something...
There's a lid on the basket.
Something was just wrong, yeah.
It's clear right now that they cannot win without having Micic and Larkin. They cannot win with only one of their superstars.
And then they're missing the third.
Yeah, this is the condition of the team right now.
And I was thinking about that third guy in the roster. Last year, as I said in the pod with Errick McCollum, last year it was Kruno Simon. Incredible game. But this season, I mean, I accept that he's 35, he's getting older, 36 probably. You cannot expect a lot. You cannot expect him being a game changer. You need other players to step up. And at the same time, if we're considering Kruno Simon as a possible third guy on that team, I mean, he won the arbitration case against Anadolu Efes because of that kind of conflict with Ergin Ataman, where he wanted to visit one of his relatives' funeral and he was rejected, but he went to the funeral in the end of the day, and Ataman was unhappy, and there were some fines. So he got the appeal, and with the help of ELPA, they managed to win that case. I mean, and when I'm watching Efes bench, Efes chemistry on the court, especially take a look at their timeouts. And one of the best examples were the post-game picture when the captain of the team, Brian Dunstan, came in the huddle, to make that chant, let's say 1, 2, 3 Efes. Nobody give any fist bump or anything. And it didn't happen because of COVID. It didn't happen because of some, like, let's say, accidental scenario. It happened because it's kind of a natural thing right now for Efes. They don't have any on and off court chemistry. And the other thing which I want to discuss is Chris Singleton. When I'm watching him, sometimes he has these streaks when he's amazing player, because he can shoot from outside, from inside. He can make a fadeaway jumper. He can defend at a very high level. He can give a lot of on the court. But sometimes when I watch him playing, it seems like he retired 3 years ago. I don't see any passion in his game, any effort in his game. And sometimes I'm surprised why Ataman relies on him so much, especially in some decisive moments. And some of these bad stretches happened in the game against Zenit, where Chris Singleton was just miserable. He's having a very poor season with 3.7 points per game. He's making only 20% of three-pointers. And he's not delivering as he was delivering before, a few years ago at least.
Well, if I was a GM of, let's say, a mid-table EuroLeague club, Chris Singleton with decreased value on the market, I would take him with a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
I still believe he has all these qualities you've mentioned. Maybe the way he's performing right now is really down to bad chemistry and simply just bad mood inside of the team. And we know that Chris Singleton is kind of a emotional player. We saw him.
So he do not show any emotions
right now. Maybe because he's just in a bad mood and in a bad moment. I don't know. But physically, it doesn't seem like he got any older.
He has all the tools.
I remember the game in Barcelona when they were struggling. All of a sudden, he scores 6 points in the fourth quarter being aggressive. So he can still do that.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about a player that is unhappy and lost his passion for the game, if, for example, between him and Ergin Ataman, there's some tensions, maybe it has something to do with that. But if he's a free agent on the market, and let's say I'm a GM of Bayern Munich,
that's the team I'm
taking Chris Singleton, 100%, in a blink of an eye, like I said. So Anadolu Efes, we heard that Shane Larkin's injury is not as serious as it looked like. He should be back on the court. And
although they probably will play this double week without Coach Ataman, because he has some serious health issues.
And on Wednesday, it's a very big game.
They have a tough schedule.
Moscow,
right? Oh yeah, Moscow.
CSKA against Anadolu Efes. It's like a classic of the last couple of years. They faced each other in the EuroLeague final. They faced each other in the EuroLeague semifinal. Right now, both of these teams feel like they're not where they're supposed to be. I think both of these teams and the players believe they are top 4 quality. But CSKA right now is somewhere between 5th and 7th, and Anadolu Efes is actually out of the top 8. So it's going to be a very interesting game.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the best games.
Is Shane Larkin coming back?
I'm not so sure
yet. Or is it not
confirmed
so sure yet? Right, because I would love to see Anadolu Efes with full roster in this game, with full power.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It's going to be one of the best games for this double game week. Also, I could suggest watching, CSKA Anadolu Efes on my list on Wednesday. Also, Real Olympiacos. We will see if there will be any reaction from Olympiacos side, although it's hard to expect a miracle from Greeks. On Thursday, I would like to watch Bayern Maccabi and also Milan Fenerbahce. And on Friday, of course, Real is in it. It's probably the best game of the week, except from CSKA Anadolu Efes.
I think tomorrow there is an underrated game.
Okay, tell me.
Barcelona, Bayern Munich. Sharas against Trinchieri is always something to watch. From the tactical point of view, also such strong personalities. And as I remember from the last season, it was not easy for Barcelona against Bayern Munich, so I'm expecting a really good game tomorrow.
What are the odds that Trinchieri will be ejected? Because if you noticed, so many coaches were ejected when they were playing against Sharas. With Trinchieri, odds are always high, probably.
Do you think there's a reason for that?
No, just a fun fact.
I will just check how it finished last season, because I remember that Bayern got the win in Palau when the game didn't mean anything for Barca in the standings, and it was important for Bayern to win it. Yeah, they won it like 82-72 last season, and they also beat Barcelona at home last season. And this season, the first game in Munich, 80-72, Barcelona won the game. So I think it will be quite interesting, even though Barca are the clear favorites.
I agree.
Yeah.
And by the way, Shin Larkin was already back on track against Fenerbahce in Turkish Championship.
Oh.
So he's good.
That's good news. That's very good news, right?
Okay, folks. It's good to have you back on the pod.
Yeah.
And it was a very nice hour we spent together talking about basketball.
It was an hour. I thought it was like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It actually ran pretty fastly.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. You can not only watch us on BasketNews.com website or BasketNews.com YouTube channel, but also listen to us on all the main audio platforms such as Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and whatever you're listening to your podcast. So see you soon.
Bye.